Hey, YouTubers, Tazman here, bringing you another episode of Taz Teaches Java. And in our last episode, we started building our number guessing game. And then I think at the end, all we did was copy number one and paste it as number two, and then changed number two right there. So now what we're going to do today is we're going to make it a little better, because right now, what happens is it generates the number and it has us guess the number. Once we guess the number, it says you win, game over, we're finished, right? It doesn't do anything else after that. Or actually, that's the I win. Here's the you win up here. So anyway, we might want to have it ask if we can play again. So we're going to stick in a play again loop. Should I? Yeah, let's go ahead and close that, just so we have a little bit more real estate. By the way, I don't know, I haven't, well, no one really watches these videos as of yet. I'm hoping as more and more get out there that they'll start popping up in search queries or results or whatever. But if you need, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the font size just a little bit so you guys can see it a little better. Hopefully that helps. So what we're going to do first of all is we want to stick in a game loop. So now we want to have it play multiple times. And to do this, what we need is to figure out where we want to stick the loop and then put in our loop, right? So let's see, we probably want this to be in the main game loop because we want it to think of a number. So okay, so that looks all good. So we're going to stick in a loop here. We're going to use a do loop because we want it to run at least once before we ask the question or before we, exit the loop. We have to, in a do loop, you have to run it at least once. So we're going to do. We're going to tab in all of this right here. And then right here, we're going to stick in our while. So we're going to close out the do right there, and we're going to say while, and we're going to simply say something like, let's do query, query, and let's say play again. Play, again. So, and then a semicolon at the end. So what this is going to do, as long as query, which now we know query is a function that we haven't written yet, but we're going to write down here. And it has to return a Boolean value, meaning it has to be true or false. Because all of your conditional things run off of true or false. They don't have anything else. Like when we're doing an if statement, if guess is less than sec number, this is going to return whether this condition is true or false, and then it will do whatever it needs to based off that. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to come down here. We're behind, so if you mouse over this right here, where is our, well, you won't be able to see it, but you can see right here it highlighted that one. So this means this is our main method right here, main, right? If we mouse over, say, this guy right here, we can see this is the while method, this is the if method, and if we click there, we can actually see the opening brace, and it works the opposite way. If we click on that one, we can see the closing brace. And then if we come here and do this, we can see where our while is. So what we want is make sure that when we click there, that it's at the end of our main method, opening brace is what's highlighted. And we're just going to come down here, and just from what we have here, we know some things. Because it's a condition, we know it's going to return something. It has to be public because the program needs to access it, so it's going to be public. It's going to return a Boolean, a Boolean, and it has to be static because this is the main method. This guy is static. So we need to also say static, static Boolean, because we're returning a Boolean. And then we already know the name of it. It's going to be query, query. And we also know that it is going to expect or have the parameter of a string. Check that action out. Just from that little thing, we got all that information. And we'll just call this, what should we call it? Let's call it prompt. So prompt. And then we need to have our method. So there we go. This guy's now happy. This guy's not happy, and the reason is because it's saying, hey, wait a minute, you told me you're returning a Boolean, and I do not see a Boolean being returned. So we can now down here, return, and we're going to return another condition. We're going to say answer, ANSWER, equals, and Y. So this is not going to like it still because it doesn't know what answer is. So we're going to fix that a little bit by saying char, because it's a character that we want, ANSWER. So now we have answer. Now, one other thing we want to do for this, oh, and of course this needs semicolon. One other thing we want to do for this is, right now, we talked about, a while ago, we talked about how in a block of code, all these variables are local to this block of code. In a while, any variables we declare in here, or in a for loop or whatever, those variables are all local to that block of code. So as you can see here, we have our scanner actually down in here in our main method, which means our scanner, if we type SC down here, SC and a dot, it doesn't know what SC is. And that's because that is local to the main method. So if we take our scanner object here and hit X, and we actually put it just in the main class, a V, now we can see that if we come down here, we can actually do SC, or wait, no, not yet. We actually have to make it static, I believe. So we have to say STATIC, because it doesn't need STATIC, static. Is that right? No. That should work then. Hold on, let me double check something. Public. Oh, no. We have to do, I was putting that in the wrong spot. We need to make it PUBLIC, public scanner, and this should start it, and then if we say STATIC, this should get rid of any of these errors that we were seeing down, like the SC close and this SC right here. So what we want to do now is, now if we type SC here, because it's now available to everything, we get our stuff. All right, so what we're getting here is we're passing query play again. So this is a prompt. This is going to be a nice universal kind of little prompt that will always be able to process yes, no answers. Like if we had a game, for example, guess my animal, and you were saying, okay, is it a cow? It could say no, and it would know, or if it's guessing what your animal is, then it would automatically be able to pass a prompt to make it customized as far as to what it's asking. So here you can see we're passing it play again, which means it's going to actually ask us play again. So we're going to say here, we're going to do an S out, hit tab space. Oh, and I don't want to answer there. So we're going to do S out, I meant control space. So we're going to get our print line command here. We're actually, usually when we're doing it for a prompt where we're asking someone something, we don't do the print line, we just do a print. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to go ahead and stick our prompt right here, PROMPT. So that's the play again, and we're going to go ahead and then maybe hit a space in here, do this, and then we're going to have it so it's always going to display a yes, no. So we're going to say Y or N, kind of like that. Oops. And then maybe a colon and a space, right? So what this is going to do when it hits play again, or when it hits this query, it's going to pass play again. It's going to display out to you. So if I were saying, for example, I wanted to, the computer is asking you to think of an animal, I could put cow in here and it could put cow and then you say yes or no. Then I could put frog in here and it would do that. So instead of having to rewrite this kind of code everywhere, we're actually using this method in order to reuse the code and not have to write it so much. So there we go. We're going to do that. So that's our system out. Now what we want to do is, because answer here is where we're going to save what they say, the yes or no. However, they might type YES and we can't really control that. So what we're going to do is we're going to format the string that they input, or the line or whatever they input. We only want the very first character. We either care that it's a Y or an N. Other words, we don't care. So what we're going to do is we're going to say answer, and we're going to say equals, and then in order, normally you've seen where we do sc dot next line, right? But this returns an entire line of information, and we don't want that. So what we want to do is we want to use the character class, character, character class, and we want to invoke one of its methods. First, we want to make it so it's to lower, so we can say to lowercase, right? And then you can see in here we have it saying that this is the character it wants. Well, if we just got rid of, say, this guy, whoops, not you. If we got rid of that guy and then threw another parenthesis here to make it all legit, the problem is this is trying to get, did I do that? Yeah. This is trying to pass it a whole line. Is that right? Yep. So it's saying character is not applicable for the argument of string. So this is trying to change a character to a lowercase, which is a single character. But right now, this is saying grab the entire line of text that the person does. So we really don't want that. So what we want to do is we want to use a built-in function called character at, CHR at, and we want place 0. So if we were to look at this right here and say this was a character array of a string, that means I is in one element, the space is in an element, so it would go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on and so forth. So when we're saying character at 0, we're saying even though they're passing us an entire string, I only want the thing in place 0. And this is a valid character. It's a single character. So this is going to return, whether they do an uppercase Y or a lowercase y or whatever, it's going to return the lowercase equivalent of whatever they type. It doesn't care whether it's a Y, an A, a B, a C, anything. It only cares that it is a character. So let's go ahead and do that. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to check, because we don't know how to handle a N, not an N, like a B or an X or anything like that. We only want to act if they enter in the Y or N. So we're going to use a while loop, because that's a great thing to loop until you do what I say. And then our condition that we want to check, oh whoops, the while already had the condition we want to check is we want to check if answer is equal to a lowercase y, and the reason it's lowercase is because we're converting anything saved here into lowercase. So we're going to say answer, and instead of saying is it equal to, we want to say is it not equal to, because if it is equal to, we don't want to do the loop. Oops, not y, not equal to. And then as we learned in our previous videos, that characters have single quotes to have their value, where double quotes are reserved for strings. Now, not only do we want to check if it's, whoops, not equal, not only do we, wait a minute, oh, whoops, that's not right. I'm looking at this one up here. So not only do we want to check if it's Y, but it also could be an N, right? So answer, oops, not equal to N. So this means anything that they type in that is not a Y or N will cause it to stay in this loop. And that's exactly what we want them to do. We want them to be stuck until they give us either a y or an n. And this shouldn't be an equals, this is equals equals. So now let's go ahead and this is what happens if they do not type a y or an n. Then we want to go ahead and say something along the line invalid, maybe invalid, invalid response, SPONSE, response, and then PLEA, please, TYPE, Y or N. So something like that. And then we're going to do that because this is actually going to basically be the exact same thing as we have here, trying to set answer to the value of the next line thing. So we can actually just take this guy and say Control C, hit enter there, and Control V. And what this is going to do is it's going to do the exact same thing. Whatever they enter here is going to assign it to answer. Then it's going to reevaluate. If they do not type a Y or an N, uppercase or lowercase, it's going to do it again and again and again and again and again and again. Now to test this, what we can use is a multi-line comment. So remember, we learned that a /* is a multi-line comment, and the / ends that multi-line comment. So now everything within this chunk is now ignored by the program. And all it's going to do is ask us to play again. So let's go ahead and test it and see if it works right. So there we go. Play again. Let's type R. Invalid response. You idiot. Let's try N. Wait, let's try Y because that'll actually loop again, right? And let us play again. So now we can hit Y. Actually, let's do an uppercase Y. We know we're checking against a lowercase y, so let's type uppercase. And there we go. We have play again. If we hit 4, still invalid response. Let's go ahead and hit uppercase N, and this should exit the program. And there we go. So now we have something that we could actually cut and paste or copy and paste this in multiple other programs. And as long as we have the do loop like we have here, it's going to go ahead and function exactly as we want, and it's nice and clean. All right, so now if we go uncheck this now, like so, now we have our game that will function. It'll play again. Now, one thing that will happen though with this is if they play again, or if we should say, just before we ask if they should play again, because we know the game is over, we need to reset our certain variables to default values again. So for example, if we're keeping track of how many guesses they have, well, we need to reassign that, as in like here. We need to redo that because our guesses have already been set to a certain number and we don't want to continue with that number. So for example, here we want to say GUESSES, guesses equals max guesses. And that will reset that back to 6. So they will be able to have all their guesses again. The other thing, let's see, here we are generating a new secret number, so we don't need to worry about that. Our guesses is being set, secret number guess, that's fine. What's the guess -1? Oh, that's their actual guess. We could set that. Let's just see if we need to though. I'm thinking a number between 1 and 100. Yeah, we want to reset guess. Other words, whatever their last guess was will be here, and it will, like if it was say 50, it will automatically do that. So we want this to, and that would be really bad if, you know, you start a new game and it guessed for some reason the exact same number or did a random number, the same thing. So we want to reset that one as well. Equals -1, right? And I think secnum we don't need to worry about. I think that might do it. So this should reset all our variables back to what their default values were, and the game should work great. So if we run this, and let's just go ahead and cheat a little bit so we can, did we leave in a cheat? I don't remember. Guesses remaining. Let's just, at the end of, what is your guess? Higher, lower? Yeah, right here. I didn't want to put it, well, actually we could put it up here. Let's do this and say plus secondum. And this will output next to that 100 the actual secret number. So if we run this, we should be able to see you have 6 of 6 guesses remaining. We know the thing is 84. Let's use up a couple of these guesses to make sure it's actually resetting. So let's do 1, 1, 1, and all of a sudden, ooh, we just got inspiration to 84. And there, oh, we have an error. So let's go figure out our error. So exception in thread main, play again, yes, no. So let's go check out what that error is. So 44 is way up here, play again. So while query, play again. Let me just verify that I got this all right. We have our chart answer. We know this part was working right. One query, play again. So why did you fail? So we said 84. It says you win. So it did this. It decremented the guesses, which is irrelevant because we already won. So it's going to go ahead and just say we got it. Max guesses, So it's getting to here. We tested this part, so what could be answer equals SC next line, chart at 0. That's all correct. I mean, we tested this. Let's try and run it again. Let's just see. Let's just do 29 right off the bat because we have a different error we're trying to fix here. So you win. Let's see if we get the same thing when we lose. And you lose. So we get the same thing whether we win or lose. So I win your round of guesses. My number was 66, which we knew. So we're getting it right here. So we're getting Java length string index out of bounds, which is saying the string that they're returning is out of bounds. Why would that? We're not using, oh, we might be using answer somewhere else. No, we're not. Let's just do this just to we weren't using answer anywhere, but I just want to try that real quick. Let's troubleshoot this. All right, let's go ahead and just guess it 20 so I don't have to mess around. So we're still getting it. So string chart at unknown source. Next line chart at on 54. String dot char at unknown source. This should ANS character 2 lowercase, and the lowercase is this guy, which is SC next line char at. I wonder if it's getting a number, because what is left in the, because it's not asking us. So maybe what we should do before we do this, let's also clear out the line buffer. sc.next line. So if we just call that, that should empty out the line buffer. Let's try that real quick. So it's 70. There we go. So what was happening is, because we're using the same, like if we created another one called SC2 or something like that, it would have worked fine. But we're putting integers into this value. So as you can see, when we're doing this, we're saying next int. So it's storing a carriage return, because we had this issue a while ago. But what's happening is it's storing a carriage return in the buffer each time, because the carriage return is not an integer. So then when it gets here, the buffer already has a carriage return in it, which tries passing the carriage return into this. Now we could also, that brings up an interesting thing. So if we say 57 here, what if we just hit enter on that? Will we error out? Yes. So, and this is because a carriage return is not a valid thing. So we could fix this. Maybe we'll fix this a little later on, because we know we're not going to be hitting enter automatically. But this is definitely something you would want to kind of keep in mind that might happen. We want to, before we try and do some of our evaluations on this, we want to make sure that it's a valid character that's going in here. So we'll just pretend that this isn't what I wanted to focus on for this video, and we're just about out of time. So I just want to talk a little bit about some of the next steps maybe that we want to do. Now that we actually have something that lets us play again, maybe we want to keep track of how many wins and how many losses you've had. And so for this, we might want to create a player object, which will be relatively easy because it's not going to have a lot of things. We're just going to keep track of maybe the player's name. We're going to keep track of their wins and their losses. And that's pretty much it. That way we could have a two-player and they could compete against each other. So it's 27. I really like to keep this shorter, but let's just kind of muscle through this real quick. So let's go ahead and add another class in here. We're going to call it player. Like so. And basically all our player is going to have is a private string. And we'll call this name. We won't set it to anything. We're going to have a private integer, and we're going to have two of these. We're going to have one called win, maybe, and let's set it to 0 as initialize, when it's initialized, or at the beginning. And then let's also maybe lose, you lose, like that. And that's all we need. Now, actually we want to probably have our default constructor require the name. So let's go ahead and say public and player, player, and it expects a string name. And when it gets the name, we want to say this, so it's accessing the local variable of name, which is private, and we want to say equals name, just like that. So that'll be good there. And then we want getters and setters for at least the win and lose, and probably only a get. We don't want them to change the name once they have it. So we're going to do this the easy way. We're going to go ahead down here, right click, go to source. We're going to say generate getters and setters. We only want a getter for the name, or not for that, for the name, that one. So for name, we only want to be able to get the name. We don't want them to change the name once it's set. So if we do that, there we go. We have all our getters and setters, and we should be good to go. Although I do like to have my default constructor above, or wait, no, that's not, this is the default constructor. So there we go. We have that. So now we have a player object. So all we would have to do in our game now is access that player, right? We want to create a player. And at first, let's just only keep track of a single player instead of multiple players. So we're just going to play around with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back into our number guess. Let's save everything real quick. And right, maybe up here, we're going to say PLAY player, and let's call it P1 or something. P1 equals new. And just for, we're going to fix this later, but we're going to have it automatically have a name in there. So we're not actually going to ask for a name because that's going to take a little bit more. So we're going to say player, whoops, we have to spell that right, and parentheses, and we need to give it a value. So let's just say T4zzTeaches. So now we've created an object called P1, and this is going to keep track of our stats. So let's see if we go, and let's see, let's make it a little more personal and maybe have it say P1.getName, and then do a plus here. So now our program is actually going to say the player's name. We could also have it say it here if we want. You know, just to make it a little more personal. We'll just copy that guy. And V. And then the only other thing really, I mean, we want, if you win, we also want it to increment the you win, so it'll go up by 1. So we do P1 dot set win to, how do we do, can we just do, I might have to think about this. Because we want to, let me just think for a second. So when you win, we would do, we would need to say, I think we would have to do this. So we'd have to say set win to P1. We'll have to see if this works. Get win and then plus plus. Because that should, I think that should win. Get win, because this will return a value, but it doesn't look like it's doing it quite right here, because this would return like the number 0. Oh, and then it would be 0 plus. Maybe what we're, instead of plus plus, we'd say plus 1. Yeah, it seems to like that. And then if we lose, see, I win, then here we would want to do, actually we want to do C here, and do enter and V here. And we would want to say P1 set lose and get lose to 1. Oh, whoops. Yeah, I think that should do it. And then if we don't play again, we could just quickly output the statistics. We could say S out and say let's do the name, make it personal. P1 dot get name. I passed it. Get name plus, and then maybe you can't type 1, and then a plus, and then P1 dot get win plus a quote and say and lost. Oh, I need to say times in here maybe. Or you won 5 and lost 6 times. That makes more sense. Do that. Like you lost, and then another plus, and then P1 dot get lose plus times. That seems pretty good. So let's just test this out real quick and say, all right, we want to win. Let's do 31. Want to play again? Yes. Okay, thinking of a new one. 78. We win again. Play again? Yes. So now we have 2 wins, right? So this time his number is 2. So let's just guess 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, and 5. So he wins, right? I win. You ran out of guesses. My number was 2. And then let's play once more and we're going to win. So let's say yes. And then we're going to say 8. And now we're going to say no. And there you go. Taz, you won 3 times and lost 1. Or you won 3 and lost 1 time. Maybe I should stick times in there. You won 3 times and lost once. Whatever. So there you go. So that kind of just gives it a little bit more. Maybe in the next episode, what we'll do, we'll have a 3rd episode at least for this, because there's still a lot of things we can do to make this better. So like we could actually, instead of having player P1, we could have this be an array list or an array of players, and that way we could actually have it, you know, have player 1 play until they decide they're not playing anymore. They could say, I'm going to play 5 times and compete against player 2, and then at the end display stats for both players. So there's lots of things we could still do. So I'd love to know any kinds of things that you might recommend that we do in it. Any comments and stuff would be great to make it better, and maybe I'm missing some stuff. You know, I'm more than happy to entertain the fact that I'm not perfect. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Aside from that, comment, like, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Check out my other channels. My Tazman channel, the main proper channel. Like I said, I think I said it earlier in this, I have 440 subs. I'm trying to get 560 more as fast as possible, and to incentivize you guys, if I get 1,000 subs, I'm giving away 56 free Steam games. And you can check that channel out, and you can find out more details on what the games are, to add them up. And there might actually even end up being more than 56, because if I see really good deals, I still buy them and put them in my library. So that's it. I think I already said comment, like, subscribe. No, I don't think I did. Comment, like, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Check out. I actually did, didn't I? So that's it. I'm not going to say it again. Until next time, I'll be seeing you later. Bye.